Welcome to Franchise Empires, where aspiring entrepreneurs learn exactly what it takes to become a successful franchise owner, from one location to 10 and beyond. I'm the Wolf of Franchises.
Hey everyone, it's the Wolf. Today on the show we have Alex Yeater. He is an area developer of an acai bowl franchise called Everbowl. This was a fun episode because we got to dive into not just life as a franchisee, but what specifically area development is all about, which is a unique position in which you can own franchises, but you can also sub-franchise and bring on local operators within your market. It's a bit of a different kind of conversation, but I think you'll enjoy it.
The Wolf of Franchises is the CEO of Wolfpack Franchising, as well as a creator at Workweek Media. All opinions expressed by the Wolf and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Wolfpack Franchising or Workweek. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. The Wolf, Workweek, and Wolfpack Franchising may maintain positions in the franchises discussed on this podcast.
I mean, look, you obviously have had a ton of success at Everbowl, but let's go back to kind of the beginning. And what was your entry point into this whole franchise world? Was it with Everbowl, or was there another concept that you and your partner were involved with?
Yeah, so my partner Mitch and I were with Verizon for the past 11 years with VerizonONE, and been in wireless for 20 years. So it's like really our whole careers was in the wireless industry. And we were wrapping up our time in the wireless industry and started to look for opportunities to invest our money, and then also opportunities in other franchise opportunities, and got introduced to Everbowl through Eric Van Horn. Eric Van Horn had the founder of Everbowl, Jeff Fenster, on his podcast, and just as soon as I heard it, I was like, Eric, you got to get me connected with this dude, because it was like 2 or 3 weeks earlier. I was in Los Angeles and on a mission trip with my church, and I had my first acai bowl, and instantly was like, and the cool part is so many of our franchisees, that's their story. It's like they're from the Midwest, or they're landlocked. They go to the beaches on vacation. They have an acai bowl. They come home and they're like, I can't get this around here. And that's exactly what it was for me and my family. So we started looking around, and Jeff was on the podcast with Eric, and it just got us really excited. That was at the end of 2020. And we still owned our Verizon stores at that time, but we were in the process of selling off we had 32 Verizon stores at our largest, and sold them off in sections. And we did the final sale in February of 21. Actually, no, I'm sorry. February of 22. We started our Everbowl journey really February 21, flew out to San Diego, met with the headquarters team. I wish I would have videotaped. It was like iconic moment when my partner took a bite of the Everbowl, and he was like, this is effing good. And he realized like, oh, this isn't an ice cream replacement. This is breakfast, lunch, dessert, dinner.
Yeah.
He got to see the whole energy and the vibe behind, somebody that's really just focused on bowls, right? Like, yes, we do smoothies. We do other things. We are craft superfoods, but I like to say that we have the best bowls in the business. And, my partner got to taste that. Went to the headquarters, just rock stars, Jeff Fenster, Eric Hansen, Brian Augustine, Haley Kaufman, like their executive team at that time and they all had been part of, like, they all started by scooping bowls, right? Building the stores and scooping bowls and stuff. So really just fell in love with the brand, and we wanted to bring it to Indiana. And that's really where the journey started for us.
Amazing. It's super fascinating too, going from like a wireless, the phone, that whole world into Everbowl. I obviously want to touch a lot on what it's been like with Everbowl to date. But I'm just curious. I have never spoken actually to a franchisee of the, that whole, I know like, I think T-Mobile has franchise, like retail stores too, and some other brands, and AT&T. But yeah, so like for, what was that like, I guess, working under such a massive company umbrella of Verizon?
Yeah, so Verizon VerizonONE was a dealer for Verizon, and we were a franchisee for VerizonONE. And Honestly, incredible organization, been around for 25, they might be pushing 30 years now. So really got to know franchising through them.
Yeah.
And also just incredible amount of business owners that have been doing business for 30 years in other industries, right? So it's like guys all over the Midwest and the South. That was like the most valuable thing that we got out of it. And my partner and I in the wireless industry, we grew to 32 stores by taking the scraps that nobody else wanted in the small towns in Ohio and Indiana that were, Verizon really didn't have a presence, or somebody else came and they failed. Or we would buy stores and do owner financing. And then eventually we got big enough that the banks would bank us to do acquisitions. But yeah, the wireless industry was, when I started, we didn't even have camera phones. And then I started selling some of the first camera phones for Alltel. I worked for Alltel for a year before I went over to the Verizon side. So I sold some of the first camera phones. I sold some of the first smartphones. I remember selling smartphones and thinking there's no way that people are going to pay an extra $30 a month to have email, because it's like, why do you need to know, why do you need to have the data at the tip of your fingers? So it's hilarious, like just the evolution of the wireless. And so it's cool. Like I have 4 sons, been married for 20 years, and my sons are 18, 17, 15, and 5. So I get to tell them the glory stories of, the first camera phones and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, love the industry. Got to be a part of some really cool innovations and change. Verizon's obviously an awesome organization. We were kind of we were always change agents. We took pride in being change agents.
Okay.
Where if Verizon would roll something out, we would try to be early adapters to it. If they would change their pricing, there was an outside company that came in and started to really monitor door swing data to box conversion. And we just nerded out on that. So then you could see, oh, wow, this store is converting at 15% while this store is at 25%, and really understand how to coach people and lead people through data. And we were able to help a lot of other people with that. So, but we grew, but it's a grind, it's constantly changing, constantly evolving. You're always floating. There's just a ton of money in inventory. We've always got a ton of money in inventory sitting in the stores and stuff. So, we knew our time had come to an end.
Got it. No, it's a proper, kind of like retail operation there. So different than many other franchises. And just to touch on when you said door swing data, so you mean when it literally would just track how many people are coming inside your store and what the sales?
They would track it down to the rep. So imagine there's like 2 reps at a counter. Yeah. If you would come into the store, if you were interacting with Bob, they would say, hey, Bob interacted with 150 to 200 customers or whatever for the month. And then our point of sale data would tell us how many boxes that we did. So it was just really, really interesting. I would say it definitely, it changed the game in the wireless industry because, we got to see who was really, because you thought somebody was a great salesperson, but maybe their store was just really busy. So you really got to see who were the top salespeople, and then you could learn from them and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Fascinating. Well, so I know now that transitioning to Everbowl, you're not just your standard kind of franchisee. You're an area representative. So maybe for folks who aren't as familiar with what that means, can you kind of give? And it probably varies a little bit from brand to brand. Who for the brands that do offer area representative agreements, but generally speaking, what does that mean for you, and how are you different than maybe just a pure play franchisee? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think the term that it used to be called or was very commonly known as a master franchise, an area rep, we identify potential franchisees, or we generate leads for franchisees, or we take the franchisees that come in, just through the website and stuff like that. We walk them through the same sales process that Everbowl does on their side. So we're all aligned, and we walk them through the sales process. When it comes to all the franchise and the contracts and the documents, that all comes from Everbowl. And we walk them through the FDD holding period, do discovery days with them, and then we get them to contract, and then we assist Everbowl with taking them through the contract process. So it's like we're our own sales arm of Everbowl in our states that we have, and then we also, as soon as the sale is closed and now they're franchisees, we also have a team that helps them with the real estate portion, so assists them with the site selection process, helps them with lease, helps them with construction, all the way to the store getting open. And then from there, we also have a training team that trains them. So we're with them the entire life cycle of it. And honestly, that's what we love. It just gives us an opportunity to coach people and support people in business, which we love, but then it's a brand that we love. And it's in franchising. So it's like checks all the boxes for us. We love it.
Amazing. And it's really interesting. I think when executed well at the franchisor level, it can make a serious difference in the system, right? Because like you just said, you kind of have now the franchisor, where in just a typical franchisor-franchisee relationship, someone buys a franchise in their market. Obviously, the franchisor is supposed to be supporting them, but it's a very one-to-one relationship, and at scale that can be tough. And maybe a franchisee has to figure some things out that they don't know how to do. Whereas if I buy a franchise in your market for Everbowl, you kind of have a team that's a lot closer to me, and probably provide a pretty good hands-on support for me to get me open.
Yeah, absolutely. And we own our own store, right? So we own and operate our own store, which Everbowl does the same thing. They have a couple of their own stores that they held on to out in San Diego. So we have our own stores. One of the guys that does all the training for us, John Murray, he just opened up his own store in Chesapeake, Virginia. So he knows, he's not just talking and teaching out of a handbook. He's talking and teaching out of experience. So I think that's very valuable. And you got to think about it on any franchise's side, but Everbowl in particular, we were able to go to them and bring a lot of excitement and energy about Everbowl to the state of Tennessee. People there was a couple of stores in Tennessee that it got open, but Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis, they hadn't heard about Everbowl. And when we bought the rights to the state of Tennessee, we sold 11 of the 15 stores within the first 90 days. So there was a ton of momentum early with that. And that's really what got the momentum going. So Everbowl it's our responsibility to deliver Everbowl to 13 states on this side of the country, and currently it's 160 stores that we have to open. We've got 10 of them. 10 of them are open. Number 11's opening next week in Brownsburg, Indiana. But we got a long way to go with our growth. But that pressure's on us. But we benefit because Everbowl's been there. They're done that. They're great partners. We're totally aligned with them. So if we need help, we're going to go to them for help. If we have ideas, we're going to go to them with our ideas. So it's a true partnership.
No, it's great. And yeah, so wow, 13 states, that's pretty substantial. I mean, how do you view it, especially going from, you and your partner have the chops, of course, to, you already at one point owned and operated 32 wireless zone stores. So how do you kind of delineate of when you want to be the operator and build out your own stores? Because there's, of course, upside in that, right? And I'm sure, you obviously play a part in the upside for bringing in new franchisees under you. But yeah, what's that thought process like, in the mind of an area developer? When you do have that operational chops to be able to be like, hey, why don't I just build out all these locations in the States?
Yeah, obviously the cost for us to build out 10 stores, 20 stores, whatever, is way more money, right? But you also have to think about the amount of employees that you're going to have, the amount of leases you're going to be signing, right? So that's why we do like the area rep deal. Now, in our own area in Indiana, Hamilton County, our goal is to open 5 or 6 stores here. We have our second store coming later this year, and that's where our headquarters is going to be. We're going to build a mini version of San Diego's headquarters out here. It's going to look very, very much the same. We're just not going to have the views that they have when you look outside. But but yeah, like that, in a lot of area reps, while, I've been going to the different franchise conferences and talking to people, a lot of area reps do end up going the route of building more and more stores. I feel like we're going to stick to the route of continuing to find franchisees in this market. And because owner operator franchisees, probably in any business, but especially QSR space, they just absolutely crush it. Those people that are in the store, in the communities, delivering the food, they just absolutely dominate. And it's awesome because, there's a lot of people that have the same story that I do, where it's like, I want acai in my town and it ain't here. It's just as simple as that. We've had quite a few franchisees that their kids have gone off to college. They're starting to leave the house, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with the second phase of life now that the kids are leaving the house. So this is going to give them the opportunity to pour into more kids, because 75-80% of the employees that we have are high school kids. So it's going to give them the opportunity to pour into more kids. So yeah.
Fantastic. No, it's an awesome opportunity. And I'm curious, given you went from wireless zone, right, where like you're selling mobile phones, very different supply chain than food, perishable food, especially like, acai bowls and smoothies, right? You want it to be fresh and high quality. So what was that like for you to kind of dive into that world and just, from the franchise, prospective franchise buyer's perspective, like, I guess before I finish the question, I want to say something I've just been learning is like every business, it has things about it that are hard. You just kind of got to choose. You got to choose your hard, and just build the business still.
Yeah.
Like there's no perfect business that isn't going to have some aspect that it isn't tough to like get over some type of hurdle. But yeah, like on that note though, with Everbowl versus wireless zone, was there any kind of things you learned after going into Everbowl where like, wow, well, this is maybe like food's a little tougher in this respect versus what I was doing before, or even on the flip side, things that were like a breath of fresh air compared to your previous endeavor?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a breath of fresh air. I went to 5 grand openings before our store was open. So I would go to these grand openings all over the country. And I went to Orlando, and I remember talking to our chief development officer, Brian, and I said, man, no offense, but this is easy. But the reason it's easy is because Everbowl was like obsessed with systems and operations, right? So like they have systems and operations down all the way to like, this is how we scoop blueberries. This is the proper way to cut a strawberry, right? So it was about running the play that they had put in place. Now, the inventory, the inventory systems, how quick, strawberries are going to only last this long, blueberries might last this long, bananas might. There was a bit of a learning curve there for us because it's different in the Midwest than it is in California. So that was a learning curve. How much inventory to keep on stock, how many bases to keep on stock. So there was that. We had to learn a lot there. But outside of that, in all honesty, we found it to be a lot easier. And the time, we have high school kids and they're scooping and cutting, right? Whereas in the wireless world, we're financing people on $1,000 cell phone, adjusting their rate plan, talking to them about insurance. I mean, it got complex. Back to, like I said, in the beginning, I was selling a flip phone, and it's like, you pull up your antenna if you don't have good reception. And, so it's things changed.
No, for sure. I can totally see the difference. And yeah, even that labor model is, of course, so different to hiring potentially a high school kid versus someone else. It's certainly very different. But I think even was it mainly down to kind of your discovery of Everbowl for why, because I know you had that like kind of eureka moment with the acai bowl that we talked about, but
right.
I guess were you exploring ever more broadly other franchise opportunities, and even were you thinking I want to be an area rep, or did that kind of just the opportunity presented itself and you took it?
Yeah. So step one, I was looking at other franchises in the acai space, the information wasn't coming to me in the speed that I liked it. I'm very impatient, and I also like I want to be able to text, decision makers, and the funny thing is now that I'm on the area rep side, it's like I have to deal with myself and a lot of these franchisees. So it's like it's like a new parent. It's like, oh, you were a pain in the butt as a son. You're going to have a pain in the butt son. But anyways, so so that was important to me. Brian Augustine and Jeff Fenster were just like, I could text them and they were getting information to me. And then the validation process, it was extremely early, right? There was less than 5 franchisees when we signed. But I was able to get great quality time with 3 of the franchisees, and then one, Annie Horton out in St. Louis, who was in the process of opening, that they really helped me to build out projections and models, on, what is our store going to do? What is the profitability of our store look like? We did not go in thinking that we were going to be area reps. We didn't even know what that was. We just knew that when we launched this, that probably other people would be excited about it. So we wanted to figure out how we could help with that. Where it became explosive to us was we sat down with Jeff Fenster, and the first thing he said is, I want to talk you out of the state of Indiana. And we're like, why? And he said, there's a Hall of Fame quarterback that's coming in to partner with the company, and he wants the state of Indiana. And obviously that ended up being Drew Brees. Yeah. So fast forward, the week that my store opened, Mitch and I's store opened in Noblesville, Indiana, I get introduced to a guy named Ben Smith, who was came in as a freshman with Drew Brees. He was actually a quarterback, and he saw Drew at practice, and he was like, I better change positions if I want to stick around. And they've been lifelong friends, along with their third partner Jason. They all played at Purdue together. Ben comes into Ben and I actually go downtown Indianapolis to look at a store for them, and through that we build a relationship. I asked for a meeting with Ben, and in that meeting, I pitched them on the idea of doing the area rep thing, because we had already started doing it in Tennessee. Yeah. And I said, Ben, well, how many stores do you guys want to open? And he said 10. I said, okay, that's 150 to 200 high school kids working for you. And I said, and I was like, that's 10 leases. That's this much money to open the stores. And I said, what if we did it this way? And I explained how an area rep deal would work. And I said, it's just so much fun. You get to be a business coach. You get to be involved in all that stuff. Yeah. But you're not stressing in the middle of the night about it, the things that you do as an owner. And at the end of the meeting, I said, we could buy Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, and we'll partner together, and I'll build the team, and my team will do all the work. And 2 weeks later, they called and they said yes. A week after that, I'm on a video call with Drew Brees and the guys, and I bring my partner, and things took off. We started doing really well. Towards the end of the summer, I'm watching what's happening in the Everbowl world. I remember having a conversation with Eric Hansen, the one of the executives at Everbowl, and I said, Eric, I was like, we're going to be at 500 stores in 5 years, right? And he goes, Alex, I'll be disappointed if we're only at 500 stores. And I was like, so, okay, I know how much money I'm making out of my store. I see what other people are doing out of their stores. I see how excited people just don't really know about Everbowl. And we don't have, we're still an emerging brand, but people are excited. So when people know about us, it's going to go crazy. Yeah. And my thought was, because of Drew Brees, because of his partnership, because of his name, we could probably grab more states. I love doing this. I could build a bigger team to support these states. So I pitched Drew on the idea. Drew and I got on a call with the founder of Everbowl, Fenster, and we struck up a deal to take it from those 5 states that we were in to 13 states. Wow. And, so we have the Midwest. We bought Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. We got pretty much everything we wanted except for Georgia and Florida, because they already had most of Florida sold. So it didn't make any sense for us to get involved in those states. So I love what we get to do. Drew Brees is just absolutely amazing. If he wasn't one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time, he probably would be some executive of a Fortune 10 company, right? Like he's brilliant. He's got this skill of actually being technically smart, financially smart, but then also like the type of person that'll motivate you. Yeah. We usually do our calls like about once a month at 9 a.m. We'll do a video call, 9 a.m. Eastern. So it's 6 a.m. his time. and he's like the first person on the call, right? Wow. And he's like, probably already worked out, ran on the beach, did some surfing, and he's like ready to take on the day, right? So
love it.
Just been great. And just watching him as a father, he's a great father, he's a great husband. That's very important to my partner and I. So he loves the brand. He's been involved in franchising for, I'd say, about 15 years. He fell in love with Jimmy John's, and he was like, I need to own some of these.
Yeah.
And so he's involved with lots of brands, and I get to learn through that process. One of the brands that he's a part of is called Small Sliders. So I get to interact with the CEO of Small Sliders and learn from them. What are they doing? So he brings this network of people that we get to take advantage of. So, and some of my favorite things that Drew does is 5 minutes before our grand opening in Chesapeake, we give away 300 bowls at our friends and family event. Drew Brees FaceTimes because he knows I'm there. He FaceTimes and he's like, hey, I want to talk to John. John was the owner and he's the guy that works for us. And John got to talk to Drew to get his pep talk before his store opened.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
He's done things like that for the franchisees. And it's been a lot of fun. And Everbowl's, their first two core values are make friends and have fun. So it's like, we take what we do very seriously. We love bringing healthier options to our communities, right? But we're all about making friends and having fun and being remarkable.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's heck, it's only been a little over a year, I guess, since you really got it going. But between just expanding the area rep agreement and bringing in Drew Brees, that's an amazing start, and that's super cool to kind of hear more insight and even just know that franchisees under your platform kind of can get that exposure and access. So that's awesome to hear. If Alex, if people want to learn more about Everbowl and kind of what you're doing especially with your territories, is there a good website or spot online to follow along?
Any social, there's my last name's Yeater, Yeater, so there's not a lot of us out there. Alex Yeater, you'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Everbowl, the Everbowl website. We have a lot of good information on franchising, but we are actively looking for franchisees. Every time we do a area rep agreement, like we expand it, the information goes out nationally because we got Drew's name tied to it. ESPN picks it up stuff, but people assume that Drew's opening up all these stores. So, we want to make it perfectly clear. We're looking for franchisees, specifically in South Carolina. North Carolina, we've got a lot, but we're really trying to focus in South Carolina. But any of those areas, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Kentucky, there's just lots of great states. And we do great in the suburbs, and we do great on college campuses, and we're starting to look into more unique locations. Cool. But I'd love to connect with anybody.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely plug the websites in the show notes. This is awesome, Alex. Congrats on all the success so far. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. And I love what you do. As I said earlier, keep doing it, keep fighting the fight. And I love your newsletter and love what you guys do.
Appreciate it, man. That's awesome. All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to Franchise Empires. We're coming to you soon with actionable insights to take the next step on your franchise journey. So make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen.